I'm gonna show to you the chess game between Humpy Koneru and Nurgyul Salimova in FIDE Candidates 2024, round number 11. So, let's begin on d4, d5, c4, c6, knight f3, knight f6, and then e3. Bishop f5, knight c3. This is his love defense, my fellow chessers. So let's continue on e6, knight h4, and then bishop g6, and then knight takes g6, h takes g6, and then bishop d2. Knight b d7, c takes d5, e takes d5, queens d5, queen c2. Queen c7, then h3. What's the idea of h3? To preventing the knight on g4. So let's continue on bishop e7, castles queenside, and then bishop e2, and then king d8, king b8, king b8, and then king b1, and then rook c8, and then g4, g5, queen f5. What is the idea of queen f5? Attacking the pawn on g5. So let's continue on knight b6, then queen takes g5, knight e4. Good move by Nurgyul Salimova. So let's continue on queen f5, g6, attacking the queen on f5, and then queen f3, f5, queen g2, rook cf8 mistake of Salimova. The best move is knight takes d2. That is the best move or continuation. So let's continue on rook cf8. So knight takes e4. Good move by Humpy Koneru. And then f takes e4, rook d f1, and then g5, f3, e takes f3, rook takes f3, and then rook takes f3, then queen takes f3, and then rook f8, then queen g2, and then bishop d6, bishop d3, and then knight c4, and then bishop c1, and rook e8 mistake, my fellow chessers, mistake. The best move in this game is this queen e7. That is the best move, my fellow chessers. Let's continue on rook e8, and then e4, bishop f4, challenging the dark square bishop on c1, and then e5, and then queen b6, attacking the pawn on g4, and then at the same time attack the bishop so bishop takes f4, and then g takes f4, and then queen f2. What's the idea of queen f2? Attacking the pawn on f4. What's the idea? So let's continue on rook d8 mistake by Salimova. The best move or the best continuation in that game is a5, my fellow chessers. To create a bomb in this side, king side or queen side, king side, because we have king in this b1. So let's continue on rook d8, and then rook c1, queen b4, and then bishop takes c4, d takes c4, and then queen takes f4, c takes f4, c3, threatening checkmate on b2 squares. So e6, check by Humpy Koneru. So king c8, rook takes c3, rook takes d4, attacking the queen on f4, my fellow chessers. Oh, again, sorry. So, So, let's continue on. Rook takes d4, and rook takes d4, queen f5. So sorry, my fellow chessers. Sorry. So queen f5, rook d1 check, and then queen c2, and then rook e1, and then queen d3 mistake. The best continuation on this position is a3, my fellow chessers. Attack the queen on b4, my fellow chessers. So let's continue on queen d3. Mistake. Queen a4 check, and then rook b3. Good move by Humpy Koneru. So rook takes e6, and then queen f5. Good move again by Humpy Koneru. Humpy Koneru. I'm so sorry for misspelled. So let's continue on. Queen c4 check, and then queen c3, queen e2 check, and then king b1, a5, and then a3, a4, and then g5, and then king c7, g6, rook e5 attacking the queen on f5, and then king f7, and then king b6, and then queen c4, and then queen f2, and then queen takes a4, and then rook to b5, threatening checkmate on b2, my fellow chessers. So let's continue on queen c2. Ooh, defending the checkmate. So stop the checkmate from second round. So queen c2, queen e1 check, and then king a2, queen e6 check, and then king a1, and then queen e1 check, and then queen b1, and then queen takes b1, and then king takes b1, and then rook g5, then h4, and then rook takes g6, and then h5, and then rook h6, rook h3, defend the pawn on h5, king c5, king c2, king g5, and then king c3, king c5, and then rook h1, my fellow chessers. So b6, rook h3, and then king g5, and then a4, king c5, and then king b3, king d5, king 3, king d5, king b4, king g4, and then king b3, pawn to b3 or b3, and so on king g5, and then rook h4. Oh, the idea of rook h4 to stop to the king on this position or these squares. So let's continue on. King e5, and then king c4, and then king d6, my fellow chessers. So rook h1, and then king e5, and then rook h2, king d6, and then king g4, king e6, and then king e4, and then king f6, and then king f4, and then king f7, then king e5, and then rook e6 check, and then king g4, rook h6, and then b4, king e6, a5, b takes a5, b takes a5, king d6, a5, king d6, and then king e4, and then king c5, and then king f5, king b5, and then king g5. Good move, my fellow chessers. So rook h8, and then rook a2. Good move again. Rook g8 check, and then king f6, and then king a6, and then h6, c5, h7, rook c8, and then rook h2, king takes a5, and then h8 queen, and then rook takes h8, and then rook takes h8, and then c4, h8, and then c4, king e5, c3, king g4, and then Salimova resigns the game. Why? Because if we continue on c2, we have rook c8. Rook c8 is the only move that is rook c8.